This is the second of a three-part video course that will walk you through the basics of a project in Assistance PSA. This tutorial will focus on the project items. Once completed, you will have learned the different contract types of your project items, how to create estimates using the calculation functionality, how to update your project item's percentage of completion, and how to create your project milestones via activities. In the previous tutorial, you have learned that the heart of your project is the Items section. This is where you will find your breakdown structure, as defined in your project template, with its phases and items. Now, let's double-click on the first line to open the item. In the next screen, maximize the window. You will recognize here the same fields as in your project template item. You can, if you want, modify any one of them. The breakdown structure of this project will reflect the changes, while the breakdown structure of the original project template in the PSA tables remains intact. Now, let's take a look at the other fields. This first item has been defined as time and material based on an hourly rate. With this contract type, PSA will calculate for each entry booked the number of hours spent times the hourly rate. You can update here the percentage of completion of your item as the project unfolds. Because this is a time and material item, the percentage of completion will not influence the invoicing process. It will mostly be used, however, for project management reporting and WIP integration with your financial backend solution. Because this item is time and material, the amount field will only be populated with actual hours and will be updated as the project unfolds. Hours that have been put on hold will also be included in here. The estimated amount field will allow you to allocate an internal budget to this item. You can enter a value directly in the field, or you can use the calculation functionality to break down the estimated hours into specific activities. Click the box and hit the Add New Calculation button. In the following screen, enter a description in the name field. Select the hour type Consultant and an employee. We will choose Holly Holt. Enter the number of hours and save your data, but remain in the same screen. PSA will display the rates applicable for this budget record as well as the results of its calculation with the number of hours defined. Click Save and New. You want to create another budget record. For this next entry, however, we will only specify an hour type. Once you've entered a value in the quantity field, click Save and Close. Back in the Item screen, you will now see the detail of the calculation displayed. You want to refresh your screen. You can press F5 or go to the next item, and then come back. You will now see in the Estimated Amount field the results of the calculation. Note that PSA will use the result of the selling amount. And because managing your budget is important, you can easily create a workflow here to send budget alerts to the project manager. In the next section, you will find the financial overview specific to this item. This is also where you can change the default revenue account of the item for when you invoice your project. The ledger account selected here will overrule the default account defined in the PSA settings of your organization. As with the Amount field, the financial section will also be populated as the project unfolds. Now close the Calculation section and click the box Hours. When time records are booked towards this project item, they will be displayed here. And if you hit the Add button, you will also be able to create new time entries from this screen. Finally, if you had attached a task to this item when creating your project template, simply click on Activities. You will find it here in the Activity view. Click on the line to open the task. You want to update the due date of this deliverable according to your project planning. You also want to assign it to one of the team members of the project. Once you're done, save and close the window. You can also, of course, link additional project activities to this item. Simply hit the New button and follow the familiar steps of creating an activity. Whatever the number of deliverables in your project, Assistance PSA will help you manage these milestones by integrating them into your project breakdown structure. And because of the full integration with Outlook, the activities now displayed here will also appear in your Outlook calendar and task list. You have completed your first project item. To go to the next one, use the arrow at the top of the screen. Your second project item was also defined in the project template as time and material with an hourly rate. You need to change it to time and material with a daily rate. Use the drop-down menu to select the new contract type and save your modification but remain in the same screen. Note that you can only change the contract type of a project item if no actual or budget entries have been posted towards the item. In the case of a day rate, PSA will calculate a full day rate regardless of the actual number of hours booked for that specific day. All the fields of this item will react the same way as with a time and material item based on an hourly rate. When using the calculation functionality, however, remember to select an hour type that has been defined with a day rate in the PSA table. The quantity field in this case will represent a number of days. In this example, the selling day rate is $1,400 times 3 days, which will give a total selling amount of $4,200. Now, let's go to the next item. This is a fixed fee. With the exception of amount and percentage of completion, all the other fields and sections of this item will react the same way as with the time and material item. Let's take a look at the amount field first. You will now have to enter a value in this field, and it will represent the selling amount of the project item. When in the billing process, PSA will only consider this number and will ignore the actual hours booked towards the item. As for the percentage of completion, the value in this field will now generate a proposed amount to be invoiced during the billing process. If, for example, you enter 50%, PSA will automatically suggest invoicing 50% of the amount you will have defined here. You will then have the option to accept or change the proposed amount of approximately $4,000 to be invoiced. For more details on this subject, please refer to the tutorial on invoicing. Now enter a budget amount in the estimated amount field and go to another item. This time select an expenses fixed fee item. Click OK here. You want PSA to save your changes. An expenses fixed fee item will react the same way as a fixed fee hour item, the only difference being that it is related to expenses. With this contract type, PSA will invoice the amount specified in the amount field regardless of the actual expenses booked towards the project. And as with a fixed fee hour contract type, the percentage of completion will also influence the billing process. The value in this field will now generate a proposed amount to be invoiced. As for the estimated amount field, it will also allow you to specify an internal budget for this item. Finally, you will notice here the expenses section. PSA will display here any actual expenses records booked towards this item. And you will also be able to create new expenses entries from this screen. Now go to the next item. This is also an expense item, but with no fixed fee. This means that, as with time and material hours, PSA will invoice any actual expenses booked towards the item. The amount field here, however, will remain blank, the total of actual expenses being displayed in the billable costs amount of the financial section, where you will also find a markup field. The value entered here will represent the percentage of markup to be applied to any expense booked towards the item. As for the budgeted amount, you can also enter a value here. You only have two contract types to review now. They are the products item and the recurring item. We will start with the products item. This contract type will let you add products from the standard CRM product catalog to your project. If you have already sold products or equipment for a specific project, this is where you will need to define them, in the Project Item screen. To add the products, simply click the Products box and hit the Add New button. In the following screen, use the drop-down menu to select the correct price list. Select the product that you want and enter the quantity. Save the data but remain in the same screen. PSA will now display the cost and selling amount of your product. Now click Save and New to add a second product to your project item. You can enter, of course, as many products as you need. Once you are done, save and close the window. Products added directly to a project item are always billable and will be instantly ready for billing. The percentage of completion will have no impact here on the billing process. And you can also enter an estimated amount for reporting purposes. Now use the F5 key to refresh your screen. You will see that the total amount of your project item is now displayed in the Billable Cost Amount field. Now, let's take a look at the last project item, the recurring item. With this contract type, PSA will allow you to create a fixed fee to be invoiced on a recurring basis. Your maintenance or subscription fees, for example. The recurring section is where you will determine the value as well as the billing frequency of your item. In the first field, you will define the billing frequency. Enter 6. In this example, your fees are invoiced twice a year. Now specify a start date, but leave the end date blank. Note that PSA has automatically activated the item. It is possible, however, to deactivate this item at any time by unchecking the box. This is particularly useful in the case of a canceled contract. For the purpose of this tutorial, we will leave the box checked. If you don't have an end date but will only invoice this item a specific number of times, you can enter that number in the occurrence field. In this example, we will also leave it blank. Now enter the value of your recurring item. The contract value will be automatically calculated by PSA as soon as you save your data. Finally, you will notice that PSA has predetermined the next invoice date, but you can change it if need be. Now save your data, but remain in the same screen. As specified earlier, PSA has updated the contract value field. One final note with regards to the recurring item. The amount field will be automatically updated by PSA Integration Services. For more information on this matter, please refer to the documentation on PSA Integration Services. You have learned how to create every one of the contract types of your project items. Your next step is to do the exercises defined in the lab Project Items of Assistance PSA.